Welcome to HR Voices, a podcast where people leaders share their side of the story. We talk about the challenges they're facing, how they're addressing them, and what changes they hope to see as the workplace evolves. This podcast is sponsored by All Voices, the all-in-one employee relations platform. Hello, welcome to HR Voices. I'm your host, Rebecca Taylor, and I'm here with Claire Coe, who's the Chief People Officer at FreshDirect's. Welcome, Claire. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too, because as we were chatting about very briefly before this, I'm a huge fan of FreshDirect. In my HR days, FreshDirect was the food provider for our office when I was stocking everything. So huge fan of what you all do. But for those who might not be familiar with the brand, can you tell us a little bit about FreshDirect and about your role there?
Yeah, I always like to say that FreshDirect is the pioneer of the online supermarket food delivery company. We have been operating in this area in New York City and states around us for over 20 years. We have been building strong relationship with vendors, and what's making us very unique, and I always like to say that everyone feels so proud to be part of the company where we're doing something that no one else is actually able to do. Over 90% of our produce come directly from the farm and fishermen. So the quality of the freshness and also the type of products that we can actually carry is really unmatchable compared to other grocers or traditional brick and mortar stores that you can visit. So sometimes the fish that you're ordering may still be in the ocean. And a lot of the produce that we bring to our customers are coming directly from the farm, and then it's coming to our warehouse and then directly out to the customers to their doors. So we're very proud that we're doing something that's very unique. Also very excited to share with you guys that for the first time, we're going to be the first East Coast online retailer to offer organic fair trade bananas with just $1 from every bunch going directly back to the farmers. Not just, reinforcing obviously the quality of the products that we bring, but also the commitment to the integrity and the communities that we actually serve.
That's so cool. And thank you for sharing that too, because especially when it comes to produce and fishing and farming, you want to see sustainability, especially because it's so easy to kind of lean into overconsumption in so many ways. So
Yeah.
love hearing that you're giving back and that it's all good for, environment, farmers, and for everything that you want it to be. That's awesome.
Talking about the food waste, we actually we're also able to work with our farmers who we have a very, very long and trusted relationship with. So if there's an overproduction, we actually provide a lot of support, sort of marketing those products so that we can buy more products from them so that they can minimize the loss.
Nice. Get them off the shelves and
Yes.
into bellies, right? Where they
Yes,
belong.
definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like there's some really cool stuff kind of going on, for FreshDirect and everything that you're doing. So from an HR perspective, what are some of the challenges that you're working on that might coincide with some of this change or might be completely different?
Well, the business itself, it's a complex business, right? So we are under a lot of operational pressure because we have the food production facility, we have the logistics and delivery network, and then the merchandising engine so that we can get the best and freshest quality of the products that we can deliver to our customers. And then on top of that, we're a sort of tech-enabled organization. So our corporate office have to be shift and, of course, change whenever needed based on the business needs. So all of this operation under high customer expectations. So people have different interests and expectations and challenges that they face. So managing all of that underneath and making sure that people feel supported, I think is the biggest challenge I face as a people leader. As people, I'm managing different expectations and also different demographic and different workforce. So that's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. And there's so many moving parts, right? Literally and figuratively, because you have the deliveries, you've got the trucks, there are physical moving parts. And then there's also just sort of from the business of, making sure that you're working with the farmers in the way that, that best supports them. That is also, in line with the strategy that the organization needs. It is a lot to juggle.
It is a lot to juggle for sure. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And we also kind of have to think about, how do we deliver excellence and speed and, making sure that we're profitable while sort of continuing to feel motivated and wanting to do this continuously, right? So it's definitely something that we are managing on top of everything.
Yeah. So what are some of your secrets? What are some of the things that either programs you've implemented or just tricks and tips that anyone could listen to?
I think I really want to make sure that I'm supporting my team with clear communication, transparent discussions, and making sure that everybody really understands what winning actually looks like and feeling recognized of what they've done well and making sure that we can talk about the impact and the positive impact that those work actually makes for the business. And I always like to say my biggest challenge personally is to make sure that I can find more time to be able to spend with our team, the interaction, the engagement, and supporting them without the delay so that the frustrations can be minimized is definitely something that I kind of remind myself every day that I want to do.
Yeah. I feel like in HR, there's always you always wish that you had 30 hours in a day only because we're always looking for more time, right?
Yes,
More time to do more things,
yes.
especially when you're juggling, large teams, right? Because how many folks do you have? How many folks are in HR and how many employees does FreshDirect have total,
Well,
roughly?
in FreshDirect, we have over 2,500 employees. So about 300 corporate employees working with us. And within the people team, we have roughly about 20 people. So I always think that people team have a lot to do, and then we have a lean team, and we can always find more things to do. But we are obviously expected to drive high performance of everyone and making sure that we can also at the same time be the emotional safety net for people. So we have to focus on reducing the costs, of course increasing the productivity, protect the culture that we have, or drive the culture together with the management team, and handle compliance, manage risk, and coaching people, and absorb emotions so that we can be the listeners and making sure that we can provide solutions to people. So a lot that we're managing, and I can tell you a lot about a lot of the exciting programs that we're actually rolling out, um,
Yeah.
that I think that could be interesting for many people to learn about.
I'd love to hear about those.
Yes.
Please tell me.
So I am launching a program called Engagement for Success. It's a program that I've designed to make sure that we can enhance the level of connection to what success looks like for you, and also to make sure that we can start building the path towards it. So it's not just a program, it's really to make sure that we can make everyone feel like they're personally connected to our company's purpose and have clear expectations, and making sure that they are feeling really motivated and encouraged to grow. Um, I want to call that where we are basically letting everyone to define what success looks like for you. So it's not just about what you do, responsibilities, what's written in the job description, how you complete your task, but it's more about, how am I going to be, or what success do I want to achieve? And at the end of that road, what is the positive impact I'm making as an individual for this business?
Mm,
So it is really a motivational tool, and I'm calling it for engagements for success for a reason, because this requires continuous engagement with your manager aside from what you do every day, to think about, well, if I do everything every day right, what is that end goal looking like for me? But
yeah.
also, before I even define what those tasks look like, I want to talk about what success looks like for me and how
Mm,
that's going to be positive impact the department and of course the company. And I think it's a beneficial for both the team and for the company, because we can encourage people to think about the potential gaining of the benefits that we may not be able to actually realize today.
yeah.
And the people are going to be able to sort of consistently think about, well, if I do this, it will help me to get to where I want to be. And that definition of the success is not just a success for myself, but it's a success of all.
Yeah. And I think that that's such a smart way to think about it too, especially when you think about how you've named it Engage for Success, because, there's no secret. Anyone listening to this, anyone in HR knows that engagement is at an all-time low everywhere, right? So, connecting that to almost it almost sounds like going back to basics. And I mean that in a good way, where it's like, hey, what if we just help people realize and understand what they can achieve in their career or what they might want to do, and let them kind of put out what they're looking for, and then see how the organization can kind of back into that based on different success metrics that they work on with their manager. I think I've been hearing a lot more of that in these types of conversations too, that those types of performance plans or career paths are becoming a lot more collaborative now,
Yes.
which
Yes.
I think is smart because
Right.
the way that we do our jobs today is so different from the way that we did them 5 years ago. So imagine a year or two from now. And it's like you have to kind of keep it collaborative so that you're putting people on the path that they want to be on and that the path that's sustainable for them.
Yeah, and I think tell you a little bit more about how sort of I came up with this whole concept of
Yeah.
engagement for success. I think based on my conversations with my managers and also individuals who want to be successful, one thing that we could have offered better throughout my career was, what, actually create an opportunity to talk about it. Oftentimes, the performance review process is focused on what you've done well, what you need to improve, and what are we going to do to make sure that you can be better. Instead, we never really talk about the individual goals and how they're actually defining the success.
Hmm.
Perhaps someone may not be looking for just a senior title. Someone may be looking for an opportunity to explore other areas of their department where they can learn more so that they can not just to be transferred to another opportunity, but rather to have a better understanding of how the business is actually operating. So what this is actually going to be offering to our team here is you're going to be driving this conversation every month, just 20 to 30 minutes with your manager. You're going to have to come prepared to talk about what success looks like for you for your first meeting. And then every month, you're going to talk about one, what type of path you're creating for yourself, and
Hmm.
also two, making sure that you're making progress. And if they're feeling any obstacles or challenges that they are not able to overcome themselves, and making sure that they're getting the guidance and support from their manager. Now, this will automatically and naturally push the managers to have more caring and interest into what my employees actually want or what my team is looking for, and
Hmm.
I will also feel obligated to need to remove those obstacles so they can excel in what they do. One thing
Yeah.
that I've promised to many people at Fresh Direct was I believe I have talent in finding what people can be very good at and helping people to be better at it. So
Hmm.
I think this is definitely one of the programs that we're launching to make sure that we can support the team to gain the knowledge and experience and opportunities that they deserve to receive, but at the same time, making sure that they are feeling motivated, interested, and passionate about the progress that they make to make better and positive and bigger influence to the business.
Yeah. And I love that it's also connecting to the business too, because from what I've been hearing from, HR folks on this podcast, but also just on LinkedIn and just hearing conversations with different employees and people in different fields, they're worried about being misplaced or they're worried about their skills falling behind. And the key thing that every thought leader says is you have to learn the business. You have to connect what you do to the business. And like no one really can give me a very good explanation of how to do that we're not doing already. And I think this is like the way that you're positioning this is just sort of a really, really great way to kind of think about it is, help them understand the impact that their work does have on the business in whatever fashion that might be, whether they're in the shipping facility or if they're in the marketing side and the more corporate side of things. Like every single person is hired at a company and paid a salary because that role, the work that they do is important, right? So it's kind of just I think it's really, really, I love that you're kind of tying it to the bigger picture because it also teaches them more about how to leverage their skills in other areas so that they do have less of a risk of becoming, obsolete, right?
Yep, absolutely. And, I think high performance without that caring and the vision for long term success and the impact will really not last long. I don't think that's actually a meaningful level of high performance that we should be driving. We want to make sure that people feel continuously engaged and the interaction to really making sure that people feel they're seeing the potentials and the impact that they haven't made, but they can see themselves making. I think that is more sustainable and long term growth that we should all be thriving for.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Especially you see all the talks of high performance culture and how it's become so much of a buzzword. I actually had a post on LinkedIn about this a couple weeks ago, just like, can anyone tell me what this actually means? Because it's kind of just become sort of this buzzword. I'm like, don't we all want to perform well? Isn't that kind of always the goal? And I think that the balance between pushing towards achievement and pushing towards goal orientation is an important part of high performance, but just as important is measuring the impact so that people see what it's all for. You need to kind of see that there's milestones hit. It's like I worked really hard on this thing and here's what it did. Here's why it matters for me, for my
Hmm.
career. You can't have I don't know, you can't have the forcing high performance without
Right.
the balance part of that. I
Right.
love that.
And what's actually really challenging for, I'm sure this is the case for many people leaders, is that when it comes down to the period of the performance review, and I'm sure many companies are actually going through that currently as the year has ended. And, we have to often face the situation of managers saying, well, my people are doing really well. Everybody in my team are great performers. And then we
Yep.
have to say, well, it's not possible that everyone is the best performer in your team, right? And then it's not just about the metrics and KPIs that we input, but also, have we done enough to really understand the level of engagement we expect to see from our people? And for that reason, I'm actually spending a lot of time with not just the senior leadership team, but also layers below that to make sure that I understand what are the potentials that we're actually not seeing at the moment. So some of the questions that I actually like asking is, I'm going to give you a magic wand. I'm going to be asking you to actually create the best team in the whole.
Yeah.
Tell me what that structure is looking like and who's coming with you,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's always a good question. Who's
And
coming
that
with
is
you?
and it actually is a game changer that people are seeing things from a very different perspective, right? And this isn't about, measuring people's performance and taking action. It's more about, how do we sort of think about the potentials that we're not seeing clearly today by switching or the changing the perspective of how we should be seeing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I always ask, like, well, with this best team, what are we achieving? What are we doing? What's
Yeah. What's
happening to the company,
possible?
right? What are the possibilities? And I
Yeah.
think those are the things that we should, and that those are the engagement tools that I am using to make sure that people are able to see things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Especially, I mean, I know, performance reviews this time of year is always a very, very stressful time, right? Because
Yes.
once you get everybody to actually submit their feedback, then you have to make sure people are having those performance conversations and that those are happening. And that's the hardest part because to your point, the perspective influences everything, right? So a manager isn't going to say that they have low performers on their team typically because then they see that as a reflection of them, right? So it's hard for them to be honest, even if it means that maybe this person's the lowest performer, but that doesn't mean that that's where the conversation ends, right?
Right. Right.
That's where it begins in a lot of
Yep.
ways.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I
so the
can also,
perspective.
yeah, it's also about the perspective. One thing I can tell you is this engagement for success program requires the employees to record the conversation, and those become a track records of the conversations that took place for the whole year. So it will be a critical tool to actually to not only just measure the KPI and metrics that they've met, but also the level of engagement, what type of efforts were made, and what the person has done to achieve that success that they've defined themselves.
Yeah. I think that's so critical is the documentation over time, right? As the job is happening, because that's where, we see at All Voices, we see, we have a significant number of cases are related to performance management or performance improvement, right? And it's because, a manager maybe wants to terminate an employee. HR is always the last one to find out about it. So then they're like, well, now we have to do this whole thing to make sure that, to make sure that all the right processes have
What
been formed, right?
happened?
Right. How did we get here? And that's a problem that we solve a lot where we say, hey, you can have the documentation of these conversations, whether they're performance improvement conversations or any type of, just conversation that might involve friction or something that you just need to establish a track record because you can't make big long-term decisions off of anecdotal evidence here and there. It has to kind of be over consistent conversations over time so that you're looking at themes and patterns, not just recency bias. And with technology now we can do that, which is I think is just it's nice kind of what doors that opens up for honest conversations between managers and employees too.
Yeah. And I think I do strongly believe that this type of programs and actions that we take will be helping us to transform our business even further. I mean, we're already doing something very unique. Everyone feels very proud of be part of the company that offers unique offerings to our special products, actually, that are
Yeah.
freshest to our customers. But I do believe that this will be sort of supporting the transformation that we're about to face as an organization.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. I'm so excited to hear more because, especially as a longtime fan of FreshDirect, I'm excited
Yeah.
to keep an eye on you all and what you're doing. But I know believe it or not, we're actually just about at time. So,
Yeah.
do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we close out?
I mean, with AI sort of threatening many of the positions, especially in the people team world, I do think that one of the strength and great offerings that people leaders can offer to the business is the level of interaction, engagement, and motivations that we can offer to the table. And I'm loving that we're able to shift our focus to offer more of that for Fresh Direct. And I think we're going to be able to offer even greater things in your future of how we can transform the business with creating a higher performing team.
Oh, beautifully said. And thank you for that. I think there's a lot to kind of hold on to as everyone's kind of figuring out what the AI is going to do to their role
Yep.
and how they can show up. And to your point, the human interaction side and just the support that you can give people is a huge, huge thing to kind of focus on right now, too. So I love that. Well, thank you, Claire. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, Rebecca.